do make way less in terms of income. Moving to the UK as a Canadian was a huge learning experience, and there are so many things that I wish someone told me about when I moved to the UK. So here's everything I wish I knew before I got here. The first one is that the cost of living is no joke. If you think Canada is expensive, wait till you move to the UK, because the cost of living here is just skyrocketing, especially if you're going to be anywhere in or around London. And of course, most people who are looking to move to the UK are always looking to move to London or around London and have close proximity to the city so that they can access better jobs or high-paying jobs or just more entertainment and fun things to do in the city. But the rent is always high, and so is the food and the transportation costs, and trust me, all of that adds up. And if you think rent is the only thing you're going to pay every month, trust me, you're wrong. Because like Canada, not all the bills are included in the rent. So most of the times you're gonna have to pay a council tax. You must be thinking, what the hell is a council tax? So council tax is a tax that is paid by households to the local council to fund services like the police, fire department, waste collection, etc. And unlike Canada, where the homeowners take care of these things by paying the property tax, here this can also be passed down to the renters unless you fall into any of these categories. So if you're a student, or you are a low-income household, or if you're single, you do get some sort of a discount. Utilities are also not always included in your rent, so better check that before you decide to sign the lease. The grocery bill can definitely be cheaper if you shop at budget stores. You can definitely go out there and splurge on your groceries and go to Waitrose or M&S Food and spend a lot of money, but there's also really good grocery stores where you can save a ton of money. And if you guys want, I can make a video on doing grocery shopping in the UK and give you guys a grocery haul and kind of comparing how much these items would cost in Canada. The second most important thing is that finding housing is so stressful. So we've already established the fact that London is expensive and finding affordable housing is going to be difficult over there. But finding housing elsewhere in the UK is not as straightforward as you think it would be. Although rents might be a bit cheaper or considerably cheaper depending on where you're going, it's still going to be hard to find and secure that lease, especially if you don't have a UK guarantor, because a lot of homeowners and landlords in the UK need you to have a UK renting history. Again, if you don't have a UK renting history, the only thing you can do is provide them with a guarantor, and that person needs to be a UK citizen or a permanent resident, or needs to have like a sponsored work visa. Unless you yourself secure a job in advance and try to move here, most likely you're not going to be accepted for renting. And this was a huge shock to me when I moved here. So what I did was, with my current place, I basically got a short-term lease for 3 months and I paid the rent up front. Yes, it's a bit of an investment and it's expensive up front, but you also don't have to worry about paying rent for the next 3 months, and then you can look for a job for yourself, and once you have the job, you can find more housing and secure a better place for yourself. Also, if you guys want a room tour, let me know. My room is amazing. Another good thing about housing here is that they also have furnished rooms in most places. In Canada, most places are unfurnished. I think 90% of the rentals out there are not furnished. So the public transport here is amazing, but it's very expensive. Okay, so yes, the UK is super well connected. All the cities here are super well connected. You can get from London to Edinburgh in like 7 hours taking the train. But there's a catch. The train is really expensive. You're probably looking at paying up to £100 one way, which is extremely expensive and inconvenient. But there's a solution to that. You can get something called a rail card. A rail card basically lets you get a membership for a year, and you pay £25 up front for the membership, and now you get discounted prices on railway tickets. So you can get anywhere up to like 60% off. And I think it's a great deal. You get to buy your tickets for 1/3 of the price at times, and I think it's super worth it to get that. I did get that, and I then took a trip to York, and I think it ran me about £13 round trip, and it was super worth it. And cities and towns in the UK are also very well connected in terms of public transit, like buses or trams. although those can be expensive, and recently they did raise the prices, so that can be expensive, but it's always nice to know that you have that option if you don't want to walk everywhere, although all the cities are super walkable, and I just love walking here and not needing a car. A big thing is that there's no ACs here. In the summer, this can be a little bit difficult. So I definitely recommend buying like a fan from Amazon. It might be like 30 pounds at max, but I think it gives you a lot of peace of mind knowing that you can acclimatize to the weather. Sometimes the summers can get quite hot, and it's very worth it to have a fan in your room. The windows do open up, so you can always do that as well, but there's no AC. The next thing that I wish I knew was just how early the sun sets. I am very used to the sun setting early during daylight savings, and you know, by the time you get out of the office, which is like 5 p.m., it's pitch black and dark, and now, you know, the day's over. But in the UK, sometimes the sun sets at like 3:30, 4 p.m. It is way earlier than Canada, and I didn't know this before, and I don't know, for some reason it feels like the days are even shorter out here, and it's not as cold, which is kind of nice. But I also wouldn't recommend going out in the dark because a lot of places are not as safe. So yeah, you do get really less time during the day in the winters. The next big thing would be salaries. So the salaries here are obviously less as compared to North America. So you do make way less in terms of income, and you pay a little bit of a higher tax. Even if you have your own business and you've, you know, incorporated here, although the incorporation fees are way less than Canada, you do end up paying a little bit more in taxes, and I think you pay somewhere around 25% for businesses as compared to Canada, where you would pay like 12.5% of income tax if you make less than $500,000 in your business. So that was a big shocker for me, and I wish I knew that before I moved here. Even with the conversion, I think most Canadian salaries are still higher than the UK. In the UK, even if you're in a more specialized position, you're still making very close to the minimum wage, which is a bummer because honestly, people do deserve to be paid better. And I know this is a huge complaint in the UK, but if you're just here temporarily and trying to just explore the country while making some cash on the side, I don't think this should be a huge issue for you. But nevertheless, if you do want to settle here, this is a huge thing to keep in mind. The next thing is taxes. So UK doesn't just have high income taxes, but they also have really high VAT, which is something that they apply on every product that you buy. So it's kind of like GST or HST in Canada. And in the province of Ontario, you would pay 13% tax on goods and services, but in the UK, it's a flat 20% for most products. I know provinces like Alberta have even lower tax rates, like 5%, but yes, so if you are moving from somewhere like Alberta, this is going to be a huge shocker for you because you are going to end up paying 20% in tax for everything that you buy. If you guys want me to make a video about how to get a job in the UK, let me know in the comment section down below, and I will talk all about it. I will talk all about how to make your resume and how to just get going and apply and get your first job in the UK. So one thing that I realized was that there's no such thing as an LCBO here. So coming from Ontario, I was so used to having an amazing LCBO store that you walk into and you have this variety of liquor and alcohol to choose from. But here in the UK, you don't have that. You have to get your alcohol from a grocery store. So all the grocery stores sell alcohol, but they don't necessarily always have that collection like Canada or Ontario does, and that was a huge shocker for me because I was always kind of on the lookout for, oh, where's the liquor store? And they don't have one, which is kind of weird. In terms of traffic rules, there's two things that I learned. The first thing is that you can't turn right on a red light. This was huge. As someone who lives in Ontario, I know people from Quebec also, you can't do that. Most places in North America do have the rule where you can turn right on a red light, but in the UK you can't. It's not legal. But what is legal though is that you can jaywalk. Yes, jaywalking is literally a thing here. It's illegal. Sometimes I also see people, if there's no cars and even if it's a red light, they'll just cross. So would I still move to the UK if I knew all of this before? I think I absolutely would. I know the taxes are high and the salaries are low, which is probably the only thing that bothers me the most out of everything, but I think I would still do it as part of just an experience and an adventure that I'm on for the next 2 years of my life. I think it's totally worth having this new experience. I think if anything, it's just going to make you appreciate Canada a little bit more. But I definitely wish I was a little bit more prepared. So yeah, to summarize everything, I think my final tips would include saving more money up front so you can pay that rent, you can secure housing, at least a short-term lease, and again, research housing way more and way before you're planning to come here. Maybe you could even do something like visit the UK before you actually just make the entire move. Visit here, look at the houses, and then do the move. Another good option would be to obviously get an Airbnb, which can be a little bit more expensive than just getting a short-term lease, but I think it's worth it if you don't have that option or you just can't seem to secure housing. Last but not least, embrace the culture, take it positively, and I think you're gonna really enjoy this experience. Let me know what out of all of these things surprised you the most, and don't forget to like and subscribe as always. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.